Yasharala AHAYAH, AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad. Hero Israel, the Lord our power is one power. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4.
Shemai Yasharala AHAYAH, AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad. The Lord our God is one. Shemai Yasharala AHAYAH, AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad. The Lord our God is one. Shemai Yasharala AHAYAH, AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad. The Lord our God is one. Shemai Yasharala AHAYAH, AHAYAH Nawa AHAYAH Akkad. The Lord our God is one.
Shema Yasharala, all praise to AHAYAH, the most high power, forgiving his laws, his statute, commandments, and he ain't have to do it, but he did it. Better take heed, cause you're running out of time. Don't wanna be the one with a reprobate mind. What would I do if I had his truth? I'd probably go crazy, praising him on a daily. The most high saved me. But sending his son, that's a blessing. And I can read my Bible correctly. It was written for me, so amazing. Better wake up, yeah, rise up. Come back to the most high. He the only one that'll guide you right. Wake up, yeah, rise up. Come back to the most high. He the only one that'll guide you right.
My name is Officer Chakam. To my right is Deacon Ibod, my reader for the night. The lesson tonight is titled, Your Faith Will Be Tested. Once again, your faith will be tested. You know, I'd like to give all praise to the Most High for allowing us to see another Sabbath, you know, because the days are getting shorter, you know, for the elect's sake. So, say all praises for that. All praises for the people that's going to watch this video and all the people that's on the line. Okay? Once again, your faith will be tested. We're going to start off in 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 3. 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 3. Go ahead, Ak, whenever you're ready.
1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 3. That no man should be moved by these afflictions, for yourself know that we are appointed thereunto.
Right, so right here I want to bring this out because it's clearly stating at the end of the verse, know that we are appointed thereunto. So we're appointed into affliction. We're appointed to be tested. Okay, we must go through these things when we come into the knowledge of the truth. Okay, we're going to get a couple precepts tonight showing that for the brothers and sisters that's not in the truth, that's going to come to the truth, and for the brothers and sisters that's in the truth. You know, if you're not being tested right now, just know you will be tested. Whether it's your mom dying, your dad dying, you know, you lost your job, you're broke, whatever it may be, but you will be tested. Okay, because according throughout the scriptures, the Most High always tested to see if, you know, brothers and sisters was really faithful to him. Okay, it happened with Abraham, happened with Daniel. Okay, Meshach, Abednego. Okay, they were tested. Next, let's go to Acts chapter 14, verse 22, and ask yourselves, you know, how would the Most High know if you were faithful if you were never tested?
Chapter 2.
Acts chapter 14, verse 22. How would the Most High know if you are faithful if you're never tested? Okay. Go ahead, Ak.
Acts chapter 14, verse 22. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of AHAYAH.
Wow, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of AHAYAH. Okay, we have to go through tribulation. We have to be tested. We have to face these trials and tribulations to see, so the Most High can see where our heart is really at, where our mind is really at. Are we really following him, or we're just, you know, uttering words before one another, but in our hearts we really don't, you know, follow the commandments. You know what I mean? So we must go through tribulation to enter into the kingdom. We must. Okay. Next, let's get James chapter 1, verse 12. This is just my opening scriptures. James chapter 1, verse 12. Remember, tonight's study is called Your Faith Will Be Tested. Go ahead, Ak, whenever you're ready.
James
chapter 1, verse 12.
All right. The book of James, chapter 1, verse 12.
Go ahead.
Blessed is the man that endured temptation.
Mm-hmm.
For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him.
Right. So right here we can see the scripture is clearly stating, blessed is the man that endureth temptation. For when he is tried, okay, whenever you're being tried or tested, okay, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Most High hath promised to them that love them, that love him. It's like it. So, once again, tonight's study is called Your Faith Will Be Tested. Next, let's go to the book of Sirach, in Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha, chapter 2, verse 1 through 10. Our forefathers and foremothers were tested. Best believe you're going to be tested also. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach and the Apocrypha, chapter 2, verse 1 through 10. Go ahead up.
Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha, chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation.
Prepare what?
Thy soul for temptation.
Prepare thy soul for temptation. Okay, when you come into the knowledge of this truth, okay, which is following the Most High in Christ, in righteousness and spirit and truth, okay, prepare your soul for temptation. Why? Why is he telling us this? Because we're going to be tempted. We are going to be tested. Okay, it happened with Job, Abraham, like I stated earlier, Daniel. So, prepare your soul for temptation when you come into this truth, or if you're in this truth, quote unquote. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 2. Set thine heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble.
Right, so set thy heart aright. Set your mind apart, okay? And constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. So we're going to get a couple examples tonight where we can see our forefathers, they didn't make haste in a time of trouble. They constantly endured their fiery trial. Okay, go verse 3.
Verse 3. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end.
Right, so we can be increased at thy last end. That's our reward. Go ahead, verse 4.
Verse 4. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate.
Right, so, right here it says, whatsoever is brought upon thee. That can be, like I said, a death of a family member, your wife or husband left you, your kids died. Regardless of what it is, the Most High is telling us right here, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Okay? Don't lose the faith. Take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. You could lose your house. You could lose your job. You could lose your car. Like Job did. He lost all those things. Okay? But he was patient. He did not curse the Most High. We're going to get that tonight. Go ahead.
Verse 5. For gold is tried in the fire.
For gold is tried in the fire. So just like how gold is tried in the fire, you break down gold, okay? In the midst of gold, you have rocks. You have all this unnecessary things, right? But on the outside, you see the gold. So to refine it, they take all those rocks out, and then it's just pure gold after that. So just like us, as an analogy, we have to be broken down, okay, to be built back up to that gold. Go ahead.
An acceptable man in the furnace of adversity.
An acceptable man in the furnace of adversity. Okay, how would you know if you're acceptable if you've never faced adversity? Go ahead.
Verse 6. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him.
And trust in him. Because the Most High is what he said, his word is the stability of our time. It's the only thing we can survive on and thrive on in this wicked society. It says that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out the mouth of God. Go ahead.
Verse 7. Ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall.
Go ahead.
Verse 8. Ye that fear the Lord, believe in him. Shalaki, believe him, and your reward shall not fail.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. Ye that fear the Lord, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy.
Right. So this is when you're changed to that lower state, when you're going through your worst problems. Okay. Let me make this clear too. Just because you have problems throughout your life, every problem isn't given from the Most High. Okay. Some problems are just because it's you. Like you have a brother that say, "Oh, I'm broke," but he ain't trying to work. That don't make sense. That's not because of the Most High is testing you. That's because you're being slothful. Okay. And vice versa with the sister. Okay. So the Most High will test you. So we're reading scriptures to show you when you change in that lower state, when you're tempted, when you're tested, okay, don't lose the faith because your faith will be tested. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was not shalaki and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him?
Right. So the Most High is kind of, popping his collar, I would like to say, because, he said, you have all our forefathers and foremothers that actually trusted in the Most High and with truth and in spirit. Okay. They were never forsaken. They were never confounded, as the scripture said. Okay. That's why you see question marks at the end of every sentence. Okay. Now let's jump over to 1 Peter. It says, look at the generations of old. So we're going to go ahead and look at the generations of old throughout this study. Get a couple examples. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. Go ahead.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you.
Right. So don't think it's strange, for the fiery trial that's going to try you. Don't think it's strange like, oh man, why is this happening to me? This is very strange. Don't think it's strange. Go ahead.
As though some strange thing happened unto you.
Right. So you're puzzled. You're puzzled. Oh, I can't believe this happened to me. When you actually follow the Most High's commandments. I can't believe this brother said this to me. I can't believe my mom did this to me. Okay? Don't think of it as a strange thing. But go ahead.
Verse 13. But rejoice.
But what?
But rejoice.
But rejoice. Go ahead.
And as much as ye are partakers of Christ's suffering.
Right, because Christ suffered. Okay? And like I said, if you worship in the Most High in Christ in truth and in spirit, you're going to be a partaker of Christ's sufferings. And we know that the servant is not greater than the master. Go ahead.
That when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceedingly joy.
Why would you be glad with exceedingly joy? Why? Because you're partakers of Christ's sufferings. Go ahead.
Verse 14. If ye be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye.
Right. So if you being reproached, meaning, people talking about you, brothers and sisters talking about you at work or school, whatever it may be, like scripture say, happy are ye if you being reproached for the name of Christ. Go ahead.
For the spirit of glory and of AHAYAH rested upon you, and their part is
on
their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified.
Right. So once again, this is your family member, your friends, whoever you want to call them. Man, why why come, never go out again? Why you don't go out no more? Why Deacon Ibah doing this? According to the scriptures. On evil, he says right here at the end of the verse, on their part, he is evil spoken of. God don't exist. Religion is trash. And they're right. Religion is trash. Right? But on your part, he is glorified. Why? Because you shunned those profane babblings. Go ahead.
Verse 15. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters.
Right, so don't suffer these things. Once you come into the knowledge of the truth, do not suffer these things, being a murderer or a thief. This is why the Most High opens your eyes, so you can turn from your wicked ways. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian.
Right, and this is not talking about your friendly neighbor Christian today. The ones we see on Sunday worship. Okay, the book of Acts chapter 11 verse 26 actually explains what a Christian is, but we're not going to that tonight. Go ahead.
Let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify AHAYAH on this behalf.
Right. But let him glorify AHAYAH on this behalf. So once again, brothers and sisters, your faith will be tested. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Start going into our forefathers and foremothers. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 2. And it's important that we know these things. Why? Because when we're tested, at certain times, we can understand why we're being tested. Okay, it's because if you're living according to the truth or the scriptures, you can understand why you're being tested. Meaning, you understand why your family member is sick. You understand why you lost your job. Okay. Because the Most High He just want to see where your faith is at. Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 2. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Most High thy power led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no.
Right. So right here it says, and to prove thee. Right? This is why we were led in the wilderness. And to prove thee, to know what was in thy heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. So the Most High led us through the commandments so he can test us. So he just wants to see where our heart was. If they were actually on the commandments or no. Go ahead.
Verse 3. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with mammon, which thou knowest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Most High doeth man live.
Right, so the Most High brought us to the wilderness to test our faith, to see if we actually were following him, to see if we actually wanted to follow the commandments or not. Okay, but verse 3, and he humbled us. But then he suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which is bread, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceeded out the mouth of the Lord doth man live. Okay, that's the one stated in the book of Matthew also. Let's jump over to Psalms chapter 66, verse 8. Let's see the Most High delivering our people. Psalms chapter 66, verse 8. One second. Psalms chapter 66, verse 8. Go ahead.
The book of Psalms. Psalm 66, verse 8. Oh, bless our power, ye people, and make the voice of his praise to be heard.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. Which holdeth our soul in life, and suffereth not our feet to be moved.
Go ahead.
Verse 10. For thou, O power, hast proved us thou hast tried us, as silver is tried.
Right, so this is that wilderness. Being in the wilderness back in Deuteronomy. Okay, this also applies to our lives. Read it again. For thou, O power, hast proved us, thou hast tried us, as silver is tried. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Thou broughtest us into the net, thou layest affliction upon our loins.
Right, so the Most High, once again, you're going to go through afflictions, trials, and tribulations because the Most High is trying to prove your faith, test your faith. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 12. Thou hast caused men to ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, but thou broughtest us out into a wealthy place.
Right, so you see how the Most High delivered our people. Okay, when man were to ride over their heads and went through the fire and through water, the Most High still delivered us. Okay, he was just testing our faith. Go ahead. Actually, that's it on that. Let's get our first example for tonight. One of our forefathers. Let's go to Daniel chapter 3, verse 10. Apologize if I'm going too fast. I kind of get hyped up when I'm talking about the Most High's word. So be it. But Daniel chapter 3, verse 10 through 18. Go ahead.
The book of Daniel, chapter 3, verse 10. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, plastery, and dog harp, and dog clamor, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image.
Right, so this is under, the Persian and the Medes. Right here, verse 10, Salakia. This is where they made a decree that every man that shall hear the hornet. Go ahead, we're going to give more understanding on this. Verse 11.
Verse 11. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace.
Right, so whoever didn't fall down and worship these false idols, okay, we're going to be thrown in a fiery furnace. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 12. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
Right. Go ahead. Verse 13.
Verse 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king.
Go ahead.
Verse 14. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, It is true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up?
Right, so these brothers right here, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, were brought to Nebuchadnezzar. So like this is a Babylon, not Persian and Medes. They were brought to Nebuchadnezzar because they didn't bow down to those false images, okay? And Nebuchadnezzar was like, verse 14, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Okay, go ahead, let's see their response.
Verse 15, now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, pastry, and deceimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that power that shall deliver you out of my hand?
All right, so Nebuchadnezzar is questioning them. Who is that power that's going to deliver you from this affliction? Verse 16, go ahead.
Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this manner.
Go ahead.
Verse 17, if it be so, our power whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king.
Right, so these brothers are pretty sure because they had the faith. They said, if it be so, our power whom ye serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. So you can go ahead and do whatever you want to us, Nebuchadnezzar, but our power is going to deliver us anyway. Go ahead, this is their faith.
Verse 18, but if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up.
Right, and then they turn back. These brothers are so faithful. They said, but if not, if the Most High don't deliver us from this fiery furnace, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So these brothers were bold and confident, okay, when their faith was being tested. Let's jump over to verse 23. Jump down to verse 23.
Verse 23. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound, into the midst of the burning, fiery furnace.
Right, so Nebuchadnezzar, just to give you guys a brief little understanding. Nebuchadnezzar went ahead and threw these brothers in a fiery furnace. Okay, that's why we jump down to verse 23. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. So they were thrown in that fire. Go ahead.
Verse 24. Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king.
Go ahead.
Verse 25. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God.
Go ahead. So this is a process that the Most High is delivering. Because back in Sirach or Ecclesiastes chapter 2, these brothers, they endured. Okay? They endured. They did not depart from the faith. And they were acceptable men that were tried in the furnace of adversity. Okay? This is when their faith was being tested. They trusted in the Most High. They did not depart from the faith. And the Most High delivered them out of that furnace that Nebuchadnezzar threw them in. Okay? That's why we're bringing this out. Just want to tie everything back together. Go ahead.
Verse 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach.
Actually, read verse 25 again. So like it.
All right. Verse 25. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God.
All praise to the Most High. Because Nebuchadnezzar, if you read the verse up, he asks his man, didn't we cast some brothers in the fire? And they were like, yeah, we did. And then he said, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire. So this is the Most High delivering them for being faithful when their faith was being tested. And they have no hurt. These brothers weren't even hurt. They were in the furnace of adversity. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Okay? So this was just an example of their faith being tested and them overcoming that furnace of adversity and being that acceptable man that's being tried. Okay? Verse 27, finish it off.
Verse 26.
Oh, verse 26? Yeah, do 26.
All right. Verse 26. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High Power, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire.
Right. That's the Most High delivering from that fire. Go ahead.
Verse 27. And the prince, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their head singed.
Wow, nor was an hair on their head singed. These brothers weren't even affected by this fire. Why? Because they were faithful. Okay, they were faithful and they were being tried. When they were faithful during their test, and the Most High delivered them. Okay, go ahead.
Neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them.
I think that's pretty impressive. They were thrown in this fire, but nor the smell of the fire had passed on them. So they didn't have anything to do with that fire. Okay, once again, your faith will be tested. What will you do in the time of your test? Will you depart from the faith? You know, like I said earlier, your mom or dad being sick. You losing your job. You change to a lower state. You ain't got nothing. All your family members leave you. What are you going to do? You can depart from the faith? That's a question you should be pondering on day and night. What will separate you from the love of the Most High? Okay? Do not depart from the faith when you are being tested. And like I said earlier, sometimes when you don't have money in your pockets, or when your wife does leave you, or when your husband does leave you, it is because of your actions. Okay? If you're not walking according to the law, statutes, commandments, the Most High is just going to allow the devil just to take over you. Okay, we're going to get that tonight too. Actually, let's go there now. Let's go to Job. I pray that everyone read the book of Job, but if not, we're going to get some scriptures tonight. Because Job is a prime example of his faith being tested. And he did not curse the Most High once. He stayed true. Okay? Let's get Job chapter 1, verse 13. Actually, let's get Job 1 and 1. Yep, Job 1 and 1. Go ahead.
The book of Job, chapter 1, verse 1. There was a man in the land of Oz, whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared AHAYAH, and eschewed evil. Eschewed evil.
All right, so right here, I just want to bring this out. Job was a very righteous brother. Did he sin? The question is yes, because Romans 3 and 23 says all have sinned. Okay, but this perfection and upright is talking about he strove to perfection towards the Most High. Okay, he tried his very, very best to be that righteous servant. Okay, this is what the scripture is talking about. Let's jump over to verse 13. Jump down to verse 13. So like
Job chapter 1, verse 13. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house.
Go ahead.
Verse 14. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside them.
Go ahead.
Verse 15. And the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away.
Right. Go ahead. Finish it off.
Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Right, so Job was being tested. Okay, Job's faith was being tested because Satan came to the Most High and was just talking bad about Job. Like, oh, Job is only serving you because he has this. You know, he's wealthy. He has his family. That's the only reason why he's serving you. So the Most High was like, hey, have you tried my servant Job? Okay, so the Most High allowed Satan to go ahead and test him and tempt him. Okay, to prove his faith. The Most High can allow Satan to do those things. So make sure you're walking in the commandments and keep it and trying to stay prayed up and scriptured up. That's why it's very important in today's society. Okay, let's go to actually go ahead. So right here, yeah, verse 15. Job is just losing his donkeys and oxen. Okay, he lost. This is the beginning of him losing things. Okay, he lost his donkey and oxen. Go ahead.
Verse 16. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and hath burnt up the sheep and the servants and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Right. So right here, in these days, Job, in a nutshell, he lost his basic necessities. He lost his food and he lost his clothing. Okay. He lost the donkeys and oxen, okay, which is his food, and he lost his sheep, which is his clothing. Okay. I just want to bring that out. Go ahead. Verse 17.
Verse 17. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels and had carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Right, so Job just got done losing his food and his clothing. Now he just lost his transportation, the camels. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 18. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in the elder's brother's house. Verse 19, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee.
Right, so Job lost his food, transportation, clothing, and now his family. This brother's going through it. Okay? But we just read in verse 1, he was a perfect and upright man. So this is him being tested. Okay? Let's jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshiped.
Right, so Job shaving your head and fell down on the ground and worship. Shaving your head was part of it was like a sign of a signification of sorrow. You know, when Joshua he did this upon the Israelites in the book of Joshua 7-6. If you want to check on our history. Okay, that's why he shaved his head. Go ahead.
Verse 21. And said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Most High gave, and the Most High have taken away. Blessed be the name of the Most High. AHAYAH.
Let's get a precept on that. Let's go to 1 Timothy 6 and 7 real quick. So Job just got done saying, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. So this brother, his wisdom was up to par because he understood you can't take anything when you die.
Second or first?
1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 7. Go ahead.
1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 7. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out.
Right, so Job already understood this thing. Job already understood this. That's why he said, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. Because when we die, we're not taking anything with us. But still, Job just lost his family. He lost everything. But he did not curse the Most High. We're going to find that tonight. Go ahead.
Verse 8.
Verse 22.
Oh, back to
Job, yeah.
Right.
So like, we're going back to Job chapter 1, verse 22.
Verse 22. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged AHAYAH foolishly.
Right, so Job didn't even sin when he was changed to his lowest estate. He didn't curse the Most High. Okay, let's see his response. Let's go to chapter 13, verse 15. Chapter 13, verse 15. Let's get Job's response real quick. So after you lose all these things, you go back over and read the book of Job. If you feel like you change to a lower state, or your family member sick, or you going through it mentally, you on the verge of falling out the truth, casting away the Most High, going back to the world. Read the book of Job, okay? Because this brother did not have any. I mean, he had a lot of things. He lost everything. Okay, let's go to Job 13 and 15.
The book of Job, chapter 13, verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain my own ways before him.
This should be everybody's response when you're tested. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain my own ways before him. So this brother said he's going to keep serving the Most High and keep trusting in the Most High, even though that, everything was taken away from him. His wife cursed him. His friends started to curse him.
Mm-hmm.
He lost his family. He lost everything. But yet this is his brother's response. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him, but I will maintain my own ways before him. Let's jump over to chapter 40, verse 10. Job chapter 40, verse 10.
Even his own wife came against him.
Exactly. This brother's going through it. Chapter 40, verse 10. We're going to see what the reward is for a brother of this stature and his faith. Go ahead.
The book of Job, chapter 40, verse 10. Deck thyself now with majesty and excellency, and array thyself with glory and beauty.
It's a lucky on that. Is that the one? That's what the Most High told him. He's going to bless Job with twice as much. Give me a second, but it's just
Like a double portion? Or sevenfold?
I thought it was 10. So basically, I'm just going to skip over. I don't like dead time. But basically, if you keep on reading, the Most High, seeing this, that Job was so faithful, and he blessed Job once again. Okay? Because Satan was sent to test him and tempt him to see if he'll fall out the truth and start to curse the Most High. But this brother did not proceed to do so. So the Most High blessed him once he passed that test. Okay? Which is his reward. So our reward is, once we're tested and we overcome that test, okay, that crown of life in the end day, if you endure unto the end. That's going to be our reward. Let's go to the book of Daniel chapter 6, verse 7. It's another example. One more example. Daniel chapter 6, verse 7. Go ahead.
The book of Daniel, chapter 6, verse 7. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors, and the princes, the counselors, and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions.
Right, so this is the same exact, well, not same exact, but kind of like the same example in with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They made a decree to establish a royal statute and make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask of a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. So anyone that was going to make a petition or call on any types of gods in this era, we're going to be cast to the den of lions. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 8. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. Wherefore, King Darius signed the writing and the decree.
Keep reading.
Verse 10. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his power, as he did aforetime.
Right, so verse 7 said anybody that make any type of petition towards any type of gods, okay, is going to be cast to the den of lions. Okay, but Daniel, at the start of verse 10, now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, so Daniel knew what was to come if he was to do, what he's going to do, which he prayed 3 times. He kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day. So he didn't even care what these Persian Medes had to say or do to him. Cast him into the den of lions. He didn't care. He still was praying 3 times a day. Go ahead.
Verse 11. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his power.
Go ahead.
Verse 12. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that every man that shall ask a petition of any power or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions?
Right, so their question like, didn't you sign a decree saying that any man that make a petition is going to be cast to the den of lions? Go ahead.
The king answered and said, the thing is true.
You're right. That's what he's saying. You're right. I did sign that. Okay, go ahead.
According to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not.
Go ahead.
Verse 13. Then answered, they said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regarded not thee.
So Daniel is saying, regarded not thee. He did not listen to you, king. That's what they're telling the king. Go ahead.
O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day.
Right, so these brothers are snitching on Daniel. Hey, you made this decree, and Daniel over there making this petition 3 times a day.
Right.
Like, should he be cast to the den of lions? Let's go ahead. Read on.
Verse 14. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him.
Go ahead.
Verse 15. Then these men assembled unto the king, and said unto the king, Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is, that no decree nor statute which the king established may be changed. Verse 16. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, Thy power, whom thou servest continuously, he will deliver thee.
Right, so right here, Daniel is now cast into the den of lions, because of that petition he was making 3 times a day. He was praying to the Most High 3 times a day. Go ahead.
Verse 17. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel.
Right, so Daniel, decided to do so. He decided to make that petition after I signed that decree. So be it. He put the stone on the door. Okay, this is what the king is saying. Go ahead.
Verse 18. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him.
Go ahead.
Verse 19. Then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions.
All right, so the king went to go check in the den of lions to see if Daniel was eaten up by these lions. Go ahead.
Verse 20. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living power, is thy power, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions?
Let's see Daniel's response right here. Check this out. Verse 21.
Verse 21. Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever.
My power lives forever. Okay, because he's going to deliver me. Okay, going back to verse 20, it says, and when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living power, is thy power, whom thou servest continually, able to deliver thee from the lions? This is Daniel's response. Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 22. My power have sent his angels, and have shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt.
All right, so that's it on that. I just want to bring that out to show that Daniel's faith was being tested. Once he knew about that decree, being signed, sealed, and delivered by the king, the Most High was trying to see if he was going to continue in his prayers. But Daniel seen that and continued in his prayers. He started to pray 3 times a day. So guess what? When he was thrown into the den of lions, the Most High delivered him out of it. Okay? That's why I want to bring that out. His faith was being tested. And yours will be also. Just like Ecclesiastes said, or Sirach. It says, look at the generations of old and see that ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken, or whom did he ever despise,
Mhm.
that called upon him. So we just got a couple examples of tonight of the generations of old, okay, our forefathers in particular. Our forefathers not forsaken the Most High. Okay, they trusted in the Most High, and guess what? The Most High delivered them from their situations. Okay, with that, let's go to John chapter 15, verse 18. Your faith will be tested. If you're walking in the law, statutes, commandments, in righteousness, in truth, and in spirit, okay, your faith will be tested. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And, if you're not saying that everyone should be going through something, but be kind of conscious of when you haven't gone through anything or been persecuted in a while, okay, be kind of conscious, like, man, because sometimes the devil can have you. You think you're doing something right, but you're really going off. And the devil have you. So be conscious of your actions. Let's go to John 15, verse 18. Go ahead.
St. John, chapter 15, verse 18. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you.
Right. So when you walking in this law, statutes, commandments, and you serving the Most High in Christ in truth and in spirit, okay, it hated Christ. So guess what? It's going to hate you also. The servant is not greater than the master. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 19. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hated you.
Right. So the world's going to hate you. So don't think it's strange when you change to that lower state, when everyone against you. Okay, that's why I want to bring this out. When everyone is against you, your family members, husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, whoever it may be, do not think it's strange because the world hated Christ. And it's going to hate you also. Verse 20, finish it off.
Verse 20. Remember the word that I said unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord.
Exactly. Go ahead.
If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will keep yours also.
All right, so we all know that Christ was persecuted, okay, for the name of the Most High, and they will persecute us also for Christ's name, okay, and for righteousness' sake. Okay, let's jump over to 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8. Got a couple more scriptures for tonight, brothers and sisters. Bear with me. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8. Go ahead.
2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8. Be not thou therefore ashamed of the testimony of our Lord, nor of me his prisoner, but be thou partaker of the afflictions.
But be thou what?
Partakers of the afflictions.
But be a partaker of the afflictions. Okay, that's what this scripture is saying. Go ahead.
Of the gospel, according to the power of AHAYAH.
Right, so don't run from the afflictions. When you actually teaching His word, and sharing His word to your family members, and they're afflicting you, that's okay. Be partaker of the afflictions for Christ's name's sake, for righteousness' sake. Okay, don't run from like, oh man, I can't really tell my brother or sister about the truth because they're not gonna like me anymore. No, it's okay. Tell them about the truth. Mm-hmm. Be a partaker of that affliction. Okay? Go ahead. That's it on that. Let's go to Romans chapter 5, verse 3. Because say if you wanted to go share the scriptures with your family members, right? Obviously, there's a time and place for everything. But say you just never share the scriptures with your family members. That can possibly, and then Most High open up a door for you to share it with them. You had, dinner or whatever, and y'all spark a conversation about religion or God. And you have your time to speak the truth according to scriptures, and you don't, that could be your faith being tested. because you're gonna be afflicted for that. So always share the scripture. Don't be a partaker. That's what I'm trying to say. Be a partaker of the afflictions. Romans chapter 5, verse 3. Go ahead.
The book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 3. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also.
Glory in tribulations also. Go ahead.
Knowing that tribulation worketh patience. Verse 4. And patience, experience, and experience hope. Verse 5. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of AHAYAH is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Spirit, which is given unto us.
Right. So glory in the tribulation. Okay. I'm just bringing out a couple of scriptures just to be a partaker. Don't run from this. Do not run from these things. Okay. So because Christ said these things must come to pass. These things must come to pass. Okay. You must be afflicted. It says through much. Let's go back to that scripture in the beginning. What's that in the book of Acts? Acts chapter 14, verse 22. Let's go back to that. Because everyone kind of think, I'm good and I'm just gonna, jog my way into the kingdom or walk my way into the kingdom or daisies and roses and nah, that's not according to scripture.
That happened.
Okay, Acts chapter 14, verse 22. Let's get that again.
The book of Acts, chapter 14, verse 22. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of AHAYAH.
Right, and that we must, through much tribulations, enter into the kingdom of AHAYAH. That can be your family member dying, your family member getting sick. That can be those situations. Okay, it's not talking about putting your head. I mean, it can be talking about putting your head on the guillotine, but it's also tribulation is also just hard times. You losing your job, whatever it may be. So through much tribulation, you must go through these things to enter into the kingdom. So don't think it's strange, like 1 Peter said. Don't think it's strange when these things come upon you. Do not think like, man, I can't believe this happened. I'm serving the Most High in Christ and I read my Bible and blah, blah, blah. Why am I going through these things? That's actually a good sign.
Right.
The question you should be asking yourself is, man, I got to overcome this. My faith is being tested. I trust in the Most High. I'm going to constantly endure, as Sirach said. I'm going to constantly endure. I'm going to put all my trust in the Most High. If it be the Most High will, He's going to raise him up, or my family member up. If not, so be it. I still love the Most High. I still trust Him. I'm still going to seek Him out. Okay?
Like Sirach said, take it cheerfully.
Take it cheerfully. Exactly.
And the book of James also said, count it all joy.
Joy, exactly.
Going through diverse temptations.
Yep. So let's finish off with Ephesians. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10 is my last scripture for the night. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. When you are being afflicted, persecuted, by whoever it may be, by whatever it may be, this scripture right here is the perfect scripture for that. Okay? You can always rely on this scripture right here. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 10. Go ahead.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 10. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of His might.
Right. And be strong, or so like it. Finally, my brother, be strong in the Lord and the power of His might. So here at the Gathering Elect, if you guys haven't noticed, we are an encouragement church. Okay, we're trying to encourage our brothers and sisters to get to that finish line. Okay, when they are faced through those fiery darts. Okay, when they are being tested, when they are being in much tribulation, we're trying to encourage our brothers and sisters to keep on the fight. Be strong in this fight. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 11. Put on the whole armor of AHAYAH, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil.
Right. So Job, we can see earlier, Job, he put on the whole armor. That brother put on the whole armor of the Most High. Because he withstood the wiles of the devil. Whatever the devil threw at him, he still say, hey, even though he slayed me, I still trust in him.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So those are all examples of faith being tested and how to respond to them. But now, when you are, tested by the devil or with the wiles of the devil, put on the whole armor of the Most High. Okay, what does that mean? Stay strong in your faith. 2 Timothy 2:15. Study to show thyself approved. Joshua 1:8. Meditate on the word day and night. Putting on the whole suit of armor. Whole armor of God. Go ahead. Verse 12.
Verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Right, so that's why it's very evident that we stay prayed up, scriptured up, and we stay in this, and then we stay strong in this faith. Stay strong for the Most High in Christ to receive that crown of life in the end day. Because we wrestle not with flesh and blood. It's telling us what our battle is. But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Okay? That's what we're going against. Now, yeah, you might be inflicted by flesh and blood. But majority of the time, you're going to be tempted and led astray with principalities against powers and against the rulers of the darkness of this world. The spiritual things. The demonic things. That's why it's always evident and important to stay in these scriptures. If you find yourself going off, now's the time to say, hey, man, when I'm going to stop playing Russian roulette with my life? When is the time I'm going to stop playing Russian roulette with my life? Because the Most High is real. Okay, the Most High is very real. So if you find yourself going off or you slacking off, being slothful, whatever it may be, whatever you may be dealing with. Say, God forbid, that you die tomorrow in the morning. Are you willing to finish off your resume like that? Ask yourself these things because it's very, very real. Very real. Are you willing to finish off your resume with living in sin? Being that slothful servant. You had time to change, but, hey, you just decided not to. You got, your friends dragged you out to a party or whatever it may be. So, I just want to give all praise to the Most High and YASHAYA and the Holy Spirit for putting this lesson on my spirit to bring forth towards the body. Because I see it all throughout, I see it with myself. I see it even throughout the body. You just see it everywhere. Wickedness. Okay? So now we just got to be strong, stay steadfast in this truth. Because your faith will be tested. I'm Officer Chakam, the water from my reader, Deacon Naibob. And with that, I want to say, Shalom.
Shalom.